The oral tradition of storytelling is the oldest of all of our traditions. Long before there were instruments and music, there were storytellers. Unlike today, they were not thought of as just entertainers. They were teachers and historians. Since there was no written language, they preserved our legends, our history, and much of our culture. Storytelling was also used as a method of teaching the young ones and reminding the not-so-young how to live in a good way. Some of those stories were accounts of historical events. Others, pure fantasy, created to teach a lesson or moral. Legends were created in an attempt to explain things in ways that weren't understood by ancient ones. What is thunder? Where does rain come from? Legends lay the foundation of spiritual beliefs. The elders would educate the children about core values to maintain order and to encourage safety from an early age, ensuring that the children knew how to critically analyze dangerous situations and connect with the culture's spiritual essence. The storyteller would pass down religious motifs and origin stories, building pride and understanding in children. Storytelling events across the world became sacred events, merging the known with the unknown. Stories have many uses, often intertwining, from the use of educating values and serving as history books to the preservation of culture and the soul. Stories both explain life and become life by serving many roles in society. The purposes of storytelling. History stories document and illuminate the physical past, while creation stories establish origin of life and values. Education stories teach etiquette, lessons, and morals. Healing stories make an impact on the wounds caused by the past or present and seek to make a positive return back to strength, faith, tradition, and family. The act of storytelling is also healing itself by giving a voice to the lost and silent. Humor stories entertain and captivate audiences, but also are a coping mechanism. Stories reflect the cycle of life and the resilience of the native way. Storytelling is writing the past, living the present, and preserving the future. As storytelling undergoes radical changes due to the diaspora of Native people from the tribal community, the future generation holds the power to progress storytelling, but new and familiar challenges simultaneously threaten to extinguish the traditional form. The reality is that before Columbus arrived on this continent, a complex civilization had been creating extensive agricultural and irrigation processes. They developed thousands of miles of trade routes from the northernmost point in Canada to the southernmost point in Brazil. They mapped the universe. They developed mathematical and linguistic systems, and they had their own political, philosophical, literary, and creative canons of knowledge. Hundreds of tribes collaborated on a way of life which had developed over thousands of years. The last few hundred years has been a systematic genocide of Native American culture, values, and language that, although has gotten ideologically better, in practice is not much better at the ground level. Natives were removed from their sacred homelands, as those lands were given to European colonists who themselves had been displaced by wealthy barons seeking a larger and larger percentage of the earth and its resources. Children were removed from their parents' homes, their languages stolen from them at Indian schools. Their own cultures became foreign to them. American media portrayed them as stereotypes, laughable jokes at best, savage killers at worst. Currently, Indigenous people across this continent are disproportionately affected by environmental destruction, unfettered capitalism, and political attacks. To this day, Native American communities continue to suffer from the repercussions of colonization. Some of the issues which affect Native American drama are the Eurocentric approach to storytelling, which dominates American theater and its effects on Indigenous people, continued stereotypes and misrepresentations of the Native identity, and the lack of role models for Indigenous artists and cultural workers. From storytelling to Native American drama. At the turn of the century, a number of Native Americans, like Te Ata, were performing in various legitimate theatrical venues. Only recently have the stories of these Native theater professionals from the early 20th century been finding their ways into theatrical history. Some performers, like Will Rogers, have been present in theater history all along. It is their Native identity that has been written as invisible. Early 20th century Native writers and performers had to minimize or whitewash their cultural identity because the dominant culture at the time was telling them that it was negative. Teata. Teata pursued her theatrical career through an academic path that led her to Broadway. She was the first Native American to graduate from Oklahoma College for Women, where her acting talent and gifts for traditional Native storytelling were nurtured. She soon became dissatisfied with the stereotypical exotic roles in which she was cast. In response, she decided to take control of her image. She refined her one-woman show, added dramatic adaptations of poetry on Indian themes, and continued to add traditional legends from other Native nations. Her aim was to educate audiences about the diversity across Native America by presenting accurate information about Native cultures. She attributed traditional legends to their appropriate Native nations and explained the significance of her props and clothing. Teata's shows, which incorporated two styles of performance, Native American storytelling and classical acting for the Shakespearean stage, allowed her to gain recognition on her own terms. She performed for all audiences, Native and non-Native, school children and international leaders. She was the first performer to entertain at the White House during FDR's administration. At a time when misrepresentations of Native Americans abounded, Teata was able to maintain a professional career that upheld the dignity of Native cultures. She continued that mission until the late 1980s. She was named Oklahoma's first state treasurer. Fighting the stereotypes. The conflict between Native Americans and the new national governments inspired misrepresentations of Native people through various forms of media. The savage Indian was quite popular, owing to the need of the new countries to feel secure about their gross mistreatment of Native peoples. The savage stereotype also calmed white doubts, as Native nations threatened each country's myth of superiority whenever Native people fought successful battles for their lands against non-Native troops. These stereotypes of noble savage for men, or princess, ready to die for her love of the white man, squaw, sexually ravenous savage, for women, weave throughout American history, and in so doing persist in media representations of Native people even today. From the Red Power movement forward. During the political civil rights movement of the 1960s, people of many cultural backgrounds began publicly celebrating and expressing their ethnicity. Throughout Native American communities of the 1960s, this expression of Native identities derived largely from the Red Power movement, in which intertribal organizations and activities worked both to reclaim Native representations and to draw public attention to issues affecting Native Americans. One of the most famous and audacious examples of this was the 18-month occupation of Alcatraz Island in 1969 by Native American activists, whose demonstrations successfully educated the general public about the federal government's treatment of Native people, while also visibly protesting U.S. policies that had appropriated Native lands. The founding of a school, the Institute of American Indian Arts, and of a theater, the Native American Theater Ensemble, are two events that created networks of Native American theater artists who continue to shape Native drama today. In 1974, two long-running academic programs were founded. In Toronto, Canada, the Centre for Indigenous Theatre, which has a full-time academic program, including a 3-year conservatory curriculum for actors, and at Haskell Indian Nations University in Kansas, Thunderbird Theatre was founded. The most famous professional Native American theater company in the U.S. emerged in 1975 and is now the oldest continually performing women's theater group in North America. Spider Women Theater uses a playful, improvisatory style of theater to draw attention to serious issues affecting women. By 1981, the group began to focus solely on issues relating to Native American representation, especially the portrayal of Native women. Spider Women has toured across the world, introducing audiences everywhere to the group's unique style of creating plays, which they call story weaving. In this process, they build their plays with interweaving types of stories: personal memories, family stories, traditional myths, historical events. The stories structure the dramatic action through overlapping moments of theme, sound, and image. They have inspired native and non-native theater audiences through their story-weaving workshops and artist residencies at universities, reservations, and conferences. Other influential companies include Native Earth Performing Arts, Native Voices, Native American Women Playwrights Archive, Project Hoop, and the Smithsonian's Native Theater Program. In 1999, Theater Communications Group published Seventh Generation, a Native American play anthology. Theater continues to be a tool which Native communities use to tell their stories, combat stereotypes, and call attention to social justice issues such as reclamation of indigenous lands, environmental destruction, access to sacred lands and spiritual rituals, violence against Native activists, survival of Native languages, and many other pressing issues which continue to impact Native peoples today. Understanding Native American drama. Lloyd Kiva New, a Cherokee artist, said, "We believe that an exciting American Indian theater can be evolved out of the framework of Indian traditions. We think this evolution must come from the most sensitive approaches imaginable in order not to misuse or cheapen the original nature of Indian forms." But what is this framework of Indian traditions, and how do these traditions influence Native American plays to be different from non-Native plays? Any researcher of Native theater will affirm that many topics appear when one searches under the term Native American drama. Search engines turn up everything from anthropological descriptions of sacred Native rituals to performance studies analyses of communal ceremonies, to reviews of outdoor summer dramas, to Native-themed plays written by non-Native playwrights. While all of these can be studied under the discipline of performance studies, we will limit our investigation to Native American drama as a field of theater that focuses on plays authored by members of the indigenous nations of the American continent, plays that are both secular and intertribal. This field of theater represents a broad range of complex theatrical activity, growing out of the rich variety of Native multicultural experiences. In the United States alone, there are over 500 federally recognized tribes, each with a distinct culture, history, language, homelands, and religion. Adding to its complexity is the wide range of experiences of what constitutes the Native identity. Some grow up on reservations, while others in the city. Some grow up around their nation's cultural traditions, others removed from that culture. We argue that in order to understand Native literature, drama included, one must embrace the established pre-colonial history of Native written and oral literatures, reaching back to the ancient Mayan and Aztec hieroglyphs through the rich storytelling traditions of Native peoples. One must recognize the distinctive worldview that commonly arises in the writings of indigenous peoples of the hemisphere. And one must take a critical approach that can read Native American literary output as separate and distinct from other national literatures, while supporting Native literature's distinct identity that functions to serve the interests of indigenous peoples and their communities, particularly with regard to issues of Native sovereignty. The elements of Native American drama. There are many recurring themes that exist throughout Native American dramatic texts. The reclaiming of identities. This theme is common for two reasons: the general theater's long history of constructing Native American stereotypes of Indian princesses, vanishing nobles, and bloodthirsty savages, and because the Native American theater presents an ideal venue for deconstructing such images. Through theater, Native artists are able to show audiences the complexities of the Native identity more authentically than is done in non-Native drama. Revising history. Native American drama revises history to honor the various ways Native people have survived European colonization of the Americas and international efforts to eradicate Native American cultures. It looks at history from the perspective of Native Americans and educates non-natives on the violence committed against Native communities and on the ways of life that have persisted, including the ways of life pre-contact. Revisiting oral traditions. This is an essential function in the preservation of culture and the transmission of cultural and spiritual knowledge. By revisiting oral traditions, the power of spoken word inherent in Native cultures and values is acknowledged. Healing Native communities. To tell your story and to hear your story being told is to reclaim your humanity, to exclaim, "I exist." Storytelling in community allows Native Americans to heal from the centuries of cultural, spiritual, and physical violence. Style in Native American drama. Like storytelling, Native plays often utilize a non-linear, sometimes cyclical plot structure, or a plot structure that mirrors a particular Native ceremony. European plot structures are linear. Native structures can be seen like a spider's web, an elaborate interweaving of both radial and lateral strands. The spider web structure also indicates the lack of importance of a singular protagonist. Because of indigenous ideas of community over individual, Native stories often focus on the whole or the collective rather than on individuals, thereby revealing communal truths. This is called multivocal authenticity. Sometimes the traditions of Native storytelling break the fourth wall to implicate the audience and make the viewer's experiences and stories part of the entire drama, literally setting in motion the communal, reciprocal nature of Native storytelling. Conflict is not as overt as in European drama, often focusing on the interior issues of characters, and sometimes the very characters are difficult to recognize because they represent all the relations from mythological to non-human to the spirit world to the land itself. The rejection of any split between sacred and secular spheres gives Native writing its distinctive quality, a worldview that remains essentially religious, involving the Native's deepest sense of self and undergirding tribal life, existence, and identity. Artists stage the significance of a spiritual moment, but honor the sacred nature of the details by keeping those private. These secularly staged spiritual moments, which are pervasive throughout Native plays, present one of the many attributes that make Native American dramaturgy so unique. Place. Place is an incredibly important concept in Native American drama because of the problematic history of Native peoples and their lands. Staging an awareness of the land's profound meaning is one of the Native theater's strongest dramaturgical attributes. Native American drama stages the connections that multiple generations of people can make through place. Characters often navigate a leaving or returning to their homeland or ancestors. It addresses the difference between space and place. Place is what happens when people experience location physically and come to understand that location through both body and mind. There is a notion that places, specific landscapes, are endowed with value, which can only be fully realized through a physical interaction with the land. This emphasizes intimate relationships between humans and specific landscapes that, although emotional and mental, must be forged through lived experiences. Landscapes communicate scenery, mood, and given circumstances. Native American dramas include intense moments when physical and spiritual worlds intertwine. Politically, Native literatures address issues of Native sovereignty, the right of each nation to govern itself through its own systems of law, social structure, religion, and cultural values. Spiritual and communal oneness or interconnectedness disregards the Western boundaries between life and death, past, present, and future, spiritual and mundane, human and non-human. This ability to embrace the universe allows Native peoples to envision themselves as part of a wider community that includes all the created order. No sharp distinction is drawn between the human and non-human persons that make up the community. Native drama dramatizes the liquid boundaries between past and present and future, life and the afterlife. Such earthly spiritual interconnections open dramaturgical possibilities, such as trickster shape-shifting and the synthesis of distant eras. Language. Native American drama presents the idea that language arises from a community's relationship with its homeland. Often, local languages are reclaimed, or parts of the play include various indigenous languages. The language evokes a timeless connection amongst the generations and includes sacred images and mythological figures. Many Native languages emphasize a relationship with the land and create unique relationships between humans and the natural world. This idea is exhibited in Choctaw and Navajo, where breath, wind, thought, speech, and creation are connected by similar root words. In these languages, wind and breath are almost synonymous. Imagine the simile. One's breath is to one's body as the wind is to the earth. The combination of wind, breath, and thought creates speech. Through the act of speaking, our thoughts enter into the physical universe upon the wind. In turn, the winds circulate our words through all of creation. Native philosophies posit speech as a more powerful form of communication than writing. Stories and storytelling are a major component of plot in Native American drama. The challenges with Native American drama. Traditional theatrical education does not teach Native drama and the unique theatrical and dramaturgical techniques used by Native storytellers. This leaves most theater artists and audiences ignorant to how this field of drama is different. Lynn Riggs, Native playwright, was told by a producer that the structure went against everything he was taught in drama. Audiences, critics, and producers are sometimes befuddled by their own preconceptions regarding Native representation. Native American drama presents general theater studies with a powerful, alternative vision of how plays are constructed and of what the theater is capable. With its distinctive themes, style, and portrayals of place and language, Native American dramaturgy both complements and extends the theories of the general theater. Thus, to better understand Native American plays is to better appreciate the significance of the theatrical medium.